In a wildlife rehabilitation center outside Nairobi, a veterinarian walked into the nursery to find something that stopped her in her tracks. A small tabby house cat, barely 12 pounds, was curled around a cheetah cub, nursing it alongside her own 3-week-old kittens. The cheetah cub, orphaned when poachers killed its mother, had been crying for hours, rejected by every surrogate they'd tried. But this cat, a stray who'd given birth at the center just days before, had dragged the spotted cub into her box, cleaned it, and was now feeding it as if it were her own. For the next 2 months, this tiny domestic cat would raise one of Africa's fastest predators, teaching it to hunt, play, and survive. The size difference alone seemed impossible, but what happened as that cheetah grew reveals a truth about motherhood that most people never consider. This story isn't about Disney magic, it's about biology doing something extraordinary, and the ending will change how you think about instinct itself. The scene defied logic. The tabby cat, orange and white with green eyes, weighed less than some house shoes. Nestled against her belly were 4 babies, 3 tiny gray kittens, and 1 cheetah cub covered in silver-gray fur with faint spots already visible. The cub was twice the size of the kittens, its paws disproportionately large, but it needed and nursed with the same desperate need. Dr. Patricia Omondi, the veterinarian who runs the center, had seen cross-species adoptions before, but never with such a dramatic size mismatch. She'd found the cat 2 weeks earlier, heavily pregnant and malnourished, wandering near the center's gates. After the cat gave birth, the staff kept her in the nursery for observation. When the cheetah cub arrived, orphaned at just 10 days old, they'd tried bottle feeding, but the cub was failing, growing weaker by the hour. Out of desperation, they placed it near the cat's box, not expecting anything. Within minutes, the cat had investigated, sniffed, and made her decision. What drives a creature to care for something so different from itself? The answer is hardwired into mammalian biology. When a female gives birth, her hypothalamus releases massive amounts of oxytocin and prolactin. These hormones don't just enable nursing, they rewire neural pathways, creating an overwhelming compulsion to respond to infant distress signals. Crying, helplessness, certain facial proportions, these triggers activate the maternal brain like a key turning a lock. Here's the crucial part. These signals are remarkably similar across mammalian species. A crying kitten sounds different from a crying cheetah cub, but the fundamental acoustic pattern, the rhythm, the distress frequency, hits the same neural receptors. The cat's brain, flooded with maternal hormones, didn't process "this is a different species." It processed "this is a baby in need," and her body responded automatically. This same mechanism plays out across the animal kingdom in ways that seem miraculous until you understand the science. In Australia, a cattle dog adopted an orphaned wombat, carrying it in her mouth and letting it sleep in her bed. In a German zoo, a pig nursed tiger cubs when their mother died during birth. In each case, timing was everything. The adoptive mothers had recently given birth or were actively nursing. Their hormone levels peaked precisely when the orphaned animal appeared. Perhaps the most famous case involved a golden retriever in California who adopted a litter of wild rabbits after her own puppies were stillborn. She was still producing milk, her body still primed for motherhood, and when those baby rabbits were placed near her, she responded instantly. She nursed them, cleaned them, even tried to teach them to fetch, utterly confused when they hopped instead of ran. Her maternal drive was so powerful it overrode every instinct that should have recognized these creatures as fundamentally different. But here's what everyone gets wrong about these stories. We see them and think the animals are being altruistic, making conscious choices to help across species lines. We project human morality onto animal behavior. The truth is both less sentimental and more profound. These mothers aren't choosing kindness, they're experiencing a biological imperative so powerful it can override species recognition, size differences, and even common sense. The cat's brain wasn't thinking about raising a predator that would eventually dwarf her. It was responding to neurochemical commands millions of years old. Baby cries, mother responds. This doesn't diminish the behavior. If anything, it reveals something more remarkable about evolution. Natural selection has created a maternal response so robust, so fail-safe, that it's better to occasionally waste resources on the wrong infant than to risk ignoring your own. In the wild, a mother who hesitates, who stops to verify species before responding, might lose precious seconds that cost her offspring's life. Better to be overly maternal than not maternal enough. As weeks passed, the differences became impossible to ignore. The cheetah grew exponentially faster than the kittens, its legs lengthening, its spots darkening into the distinctive tear marks and rosettes. By 6 weeks, it was 3 times the size of its adopted siblings, but they played together relentlessly. The cat would bat at the cheetah's tail, and the cub would pounce with increasing accuracy, practicing the hunting skills coded into its DNA. The cat did something unexpected. She began teaching. When the kitten stalked toy mice, the cheetah watched and imitated. When the cat demonstrated how to crouch and wait, the cheetah learned, its natural predatory instincts sharpened by feline instruction. The cat was unknowingly training one of nature's most efficient hunters. At 8 weeks, the transition began. The rehabilitation center had prepared a larger enclosure where the cheetah could be gradually introduced to other hand-raised cheetahs. The separation happened over 5 days, with the cub spending increasing time away from the cat. Dr. Omandi watched carefully for signs of distress in both animals. The cat adapted within 48 hours, redirecting all her attention to her biological kittens, now rambunctious and ready for adoption. The maternal hormones that had made her care for the cheetah were naturally declining as her kittens matured. The cheetah, meanwhile, bonded immediately with 2 other young cheetahs, engaging in high-speed play the cat could never have provided. 6 months later, the cat had been adopted by a family with children who adored her. She lived like any house cat, napping in sunbeams and chasing string. The cheetah was thriving in a wildlife sanctuary, running at speeds approaching 60 miles per hour, hunting live prey and preparing for eventual release into a protected reserve. When Dr. Omandi showed the adoptive family videos of their cat nursing the cheetah, they couldn't believe it was the same calm, ordinary tabby sleeping on their couch. Both animals got exactly what they needed. The cat satisfied a biological drive that saved a life. The cheetah survived its most vulnerable weeks and grew into what it was meant to be. There was no confusion, no identity crisis, no prolonged attachment, just nature working exactly as evolution designed it. Messy, imperfect, but ultimately effective. That's the real justice here. Not a fairy tale, but the perfect outcome. A house cat and a cheetah, brought together by biology, separated by growth, both living their best lives because for a brief window their needs aligned perfectly. If you want more stories where science is stranger than fiction, smash that like button and subscribe. Reality doesn't need embellishment.